consider a proposed change in zoning. Has proper legal notice been given of the hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 378.2 acres located along East National Road to PD Plan Development District was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on May 2nd, 2022.
I move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Staff report.
Good evening, everyone. The 10 parcels on East National Road are proposed for rezoning and intend to establish a planned development district. Out of these 10 parcels, 3 were in Springfield Township and were recently annexed into the city limits. Upon annexation and per Ordinance 22112, received a zoning classification of City RS5 Low Density Single Family Residential District. Remaining 7 parcels, zoned City Research and Development Park, RDP, are part of City of Springfield since 2005. Zoning of surrounding areas comprises of Springfield Township B3 to the north, a mix of Springfield Township Agriculture and City Manufacturing District to the south, Springfield Township Agriculture to the east, Springfield Township R1 to the west. The proposed rezoning to planned development district will provide flexibility in the design of single-use residential and commercial, as well as allow modern integrated developments of mixed uses. The current proposal shows commercial uses along East National Road, while a mix of residential uses is proposed to south of proposed development. The distribution of uses, acreage dedicated to each use, number of units, and minimum lot areas are specified in the table as shown on slide. There are 4 access points proposed and are highlighted in yellow. The proposed development will be served by city utility and services. Return reports from city staff state no objections and recommend approval. City Service Department commented that there is a need for traffic impact study. There were no objections for the proposed rezoning from the public. There were a few callers who wished to know the extent of project and if their property was included in the rezoning. They received clarification that no private property other than the subject parcels is included in the proposed rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on the commission want to speak to this matter?
After the hearings, did you receive any complaints or objections?
There were no complaints or objections, just questions.
Thank you.
Anything else from the commission? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jim Pfeiffer. I'm the attorney for various parties involved in this proposal. Represent Community Improvement Corporation of Springfield and Clark County, otherwise known as the CIC, Techers Theaters, Inc., the owner of a portion of the property owned, and 40 Partners, LLC. Yep. For the rezoning, developer, party that has a contract from both the other parties, purchase ground necessary to complete the development. We don't have a lot to add to the staff presentation. A couple things that I think are important just in general. You will note as you're looking that map screen where Route 40 is top. Commercial areas at either end are buffered from property immediately to the west. Development is predominantly a residential development designed to set up neighborhoods to be active as a community served by various shops, stores, off other types of use normally toward community that side. Okay, other than that, I really don't have a lot to say. There is a small area, not a small area, there's about 49 acres altogether that part of it buffers off of Route 40. See that gray area that not is part of the city, and the next edge area can stay in zone remaining in that capacity. Other than that, if there are questions from the commission, I can tell you that the development is consistent with the Crossroads Comprehensive Plan. And obviously, we think this is a very important project for the city, something we haven't had in decades. It is very important development asset built. You'd answer questions if you have any.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
Do, Jim, but I was wondering if Jeff could speak a little bit to the development. He gave a presentation to one of the groups you mentioned and represent, and I thought he could give a quick just overview and a couple questions I have about the speed of the development and some of the plan and even the different developers that will be coming in and building houses in this. Thank you, Jim.
Rob, good to see you again. Commissioners, Mayor, thank you for having us this evening. So
If you don't mind saying your full name.
Jeff Fontaine with Bohr Development. Today, do we have the presentation teed up that Mike had sent over?
No, he had the drive with him.
Okay. Do you want to pull that up, Mike?
Can be, there'll be folks that'll be looking in on this and hearing, so I want to make sure that some of the information that we will get questions about, you're able to put out.
Absolutely.
Particularly, you had mentioned in the other presentation about areas that you see beginning and what we'll see most develop sooner than later.
Sure. So let me just start with a holistic approach to this development is a community-focused development that is intentionally designed to interweave multiple different uses. Thank you, Bryan. And with that, it's an intentional, thoughtful development trying to think about multi-generational living, services and goods that are provided to the community, not just those that live within this development, but in the nearby community as well, and all of the greater Springfield community, trying to create something that's truly dynamic and has been newly presented to the Springfield community in the last probably 50 years of a development of this size. And so with that, if my technology can work here for me, turned on, probably have to turn it on, that part. Add it first. There we go. As you can see, Melody Parks, obviously from the presentation from the city previously, you can see the footprint of the site in which it is presented. With this, there we go. You can see the mixture of housing and development with a little bit more granular detail. Inversion of the map here, the US 40, which is north-oriented, is now at the bottom of the map, thinking as you're coming into the community. The entrance to the community is where you see this restaurant, retail, and medical is to be predominantly the main focused entry of the development. That would service two main boulevard access points, one to the further to the west there where the cursor is, and then one closer to the east boundary there. Those would act as the main arteries up into the development and would be the focal point of the beginning of the development as well. Our goal and initiative is to bring in the first, call it 80 to 100 homes that you would see lining that Boulevard Street as you come in the entryway up until the main first cross section, along with the beginning of the commercial district, which would include restaurants, banks, goods services, retailers, medical uses, dentists, medical offices, maybe, primary care, physical therapy type of uses, as well as, fast casual dining and also sit down, high quality dining as well. Within that, then we also have the main commercial anchor, which is targeted to be a grocery or box type of shopping center. And then from there, you have your for rate or market for rent housing products in both the patio homes, which if you think about is a attached 2-unit project that is a single story scattered throughout. And then you have the multifamily product that is your traditional 3-story walk-up multifamily product. So those would be the focuses, everything that you see in kind of the light orange, dark orange, and the first primary yellow up to the first cross section in the primary start of the development. Any questions on that, Rob, additionally, or any other commissioners?
I just know that people were wondering how fast it would be built out. There's lots of rumors and speculation of how quickly homes would be available and where they would start. And entry points was another question, Jeff, if you could speak to that. Is there a planned entry point on Titus Road?
There is. So as you can see, the access point there on Titus and the timing of which that would be built out is not yet defined. It's going to be in conjunction with the traffic studies and warrants that we determine at that point from the build out. This whole phase of the project is really in the macro. A fully built out project is going to be a 7 to 10 year build out in our estimates at this point. Our goal is that we get good momentum and can continue to deliver the housing options that we seek in this in the first 5 to 7 years. But obviously the market dynamics are going to play a role in that as well. And so with that, from a capacity and entry standpoint, we feel the main arteries that are off of US 40 for now are serving the build out that is occurring currently. But with the way that we have designed this as well is the diversity of products and being able to pivot and make sure that we have the right options for housing available for what the market demands at that point in time gives us latitude to pivot both to the east and west towards the larger, as we call estate lots, which are 80 to 100 foot lots over in the eastern portion that would back up more to the Titus roadside, or into your more traditional neighborhood housing, which is in that 50, 60 foot lot that, on average fits a 2,000 to 3,000, 3,500 square foot home, plus or minus in those ranges. And so from that aspect, it gives us a variety for absorption and doesn't leave us with, being stuck with one product based on what the market demand is going to be.
In the last few meetings we've had, the residents that have come in, 2 or 3 on Titus Road, the properties that are going to be developed on the Titus Road side, east side, those are the larger properties, my understanding, is that right?
That's correct. Yep. Those would be 80 to 100 foot wide lots by about 150 feet deep. And then in addition to that, we actually have built in a buffer. You can see a little bit of that green strip that's already present in there. We've built in, I think it's about a 20 foot, it might be a 50 foot buffer. I don't have my exact engineering number off the top of my head, but we've built in an additional buffer on top of that that would include mounding and landscaping to also better preserve, because those are beautiful lots. Those are beautiful tree lined lots that are back there. And we want to preserve, obviously, their privacy, their integrity on that side too. So we've created even an additional landscaping buffer there as well. And as well as completely circulating the whole property. That is the intent, is to create obviously proper barriers and mounding as well.
And speak to the types of homes that will be developed in there. You had said something about multiple types of builders?
Yes, so we'll have multiple different builders and multiple different housing types and products. So there will be a diversity of architectural designs. There will be a diversity of footprints, layouts, and obviously most of them will all be between a 2 and 3 story product, probably no 3 stories, unless it was truly a unique, bi-level type of structure. But most of them are going to be your traditional 2 stories with varying sizes of frontages and bedroom, anywhere between, a 3 and 5 bedroom, with a lot of variation in architectural differences as well.
Questions from Commissioner?
One of the other things I will just point out quickly is that you'll see a lot of the green space, and obviously the intent here with the neighborhood aspect, and this came up as another meeting privately to us from one of the Titus homeowners, is the park system that would be incorporated. And we have almost 90 acres of green space that is incorporated into this development. It's just shy of 25% of green space that is going to be interconnected in creating a walking system for those sidewalks and trails for that to be able to be connected in. So not only is the trail system that fronts US 40 going to be existing, we're going to tap into that and connect it up and through the development as well.
So the overall goal, market being, okay, 10 years is what you see this to be
That would
fully
be,
developed.
yeah.
In the next.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank
Any
you.
other question?
Other commissioner question?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any comments in the audience? Is there a motion to adjourn that hearing?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Philip? Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. The public hearing scheduled for 6:50 is called to order. Roll call from the previous.
Hey, Warren, we'll have to wait about 3 minutes to officially start the public hearing just to provide opportunity.
Yeah, I see. Yep.
Hey.
We can't start before the scheduled time in case somebody is coming at that time and get excluded.
Oh.
I killed in the
That's
last
just the
game.
way the world works.
I wasn't there. I flew out on Saturday.
I,
There's a little. Yeah. Says 50. The hearing scheduled for 6:50 is called to order. Roll call from the previous hearing cover this one too. Staff report. The purpose of this meeting is for a public hearing, consider an amendment to an existing PD plan that's planned development district. Has proper legal notice been given of it?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed amendment to the planned development for 10.381 acres located at 1221 East Home Road was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city, Attached here too is true and correct copy of the legal notice published on May 2nd, 2022.
I move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Mr. Copeland.
Yes. Now staff report.
The subject parcels were rezoned in 2008 as Planned Development District and have gone through a previous amendment in 2013. The surrounding land use and zoning is commercial to the north, residential, residential zones and uses to south and east, and commercial and residential to the west. The current proposal shows commercial along East Home Road and 44 residential condos in the remaining portion of parcel to the south. The Connect Clark County Comprehensive Plan shows the future character area as mixed-use, low-intensity. The proposed development has a mix of uses and is compatible with the Clark County Comprehensive Plan. The proposed development is compatible with surrounding land uses as well. The request for the amendment was tabled at the March Planning Board meeting due to traffic concerns from surrounding property owners in relation to an access point on Olympic Street. Following the meeting, the developers and surrounding residents and business owners came to an agreement on removing the access point along Olympic Street from the proposed amendment of Planned Development District. This agreement hopes to address the traffic concerns stated by surrounding property owners who were present at the same meeting. The previously proposed plan was revised and the proposed ingress-egress from Olympic Street was removed. A perpetual access easement is proposed to provide residential development at south of parcel access from East Home Road. The request was approved unanimously at the April Planning Board meeting and there were no objections from surrounding property owners. Return reports from city staff stated no objections and staff recommends approval of the request to amend the Planned Development District. Thank you.
Questions or comments from commissioners?
Have you received any objections since the hearings were held?
No, there were no objections.
Thank you.
Anything else from the commission?
Yes. Could you just speak out or speak to what would be developed there when it goes to the neighborhood commercial planning, like that zoning? What could possibly go there?
That would be a retail store
Okay.
or
Mhm.
drive-in restaurants.
Okay. Just drive-through restaurants. It wouldn't be like
It would allow for a
a
sit
sit down.
or
Okay. Okay.
a financial institution,
Got you.
something like that.
Got you. And so were there homes lost from this or was the property vacant?
The property is currently vacant.
Cool.
Yeah, this was the former Simon Kenton School site.
Okay.
Anything else from commissioners? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this matter? Anyone? Is there a motion to adjourn the hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips, Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Mr. Copeland.
Yes. In a minute, we'll do the other hearing.
Some objections and we'd be right on time.
Right.
I think this was
I'll
timed-
talk more.
This was timed in such a way to expect the first-
Yeah, totally. I was down.
Dave's just saying.
I'm
Bring it
saying.
back.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
I was-
all right.
Now ask the same questions.
Totally am.
Okay, the hearing scheduled
All right.
for 6:55 is called to order. The roll call from the previous one, hearings will cover this one also. The purpose of this meeting is public hearing to consider proposed change in zoning. Has proper legal notice been given to the hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 0.072 acre located at 120 East Southern Avenue from RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District to CN2 Neighborhood Commercial District was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on May 2nd, 2022.
Move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Is there anybody on the commission comment on this? Staff report.
The applicant is seeking approval for rezoning to keep cargo container on an undeveloped residential parcel. The cargo container stores supplies for nearby business. The applicant was aware of restrictions to place cargo containers due to an active code enforcement case. Per code, cargo containers exceeding 120 square feet are allowed in residentially zoned districts only if in active use for storage of construction materials or for a maximum period of 7 consecutive days or a week. The existing land use and zoning of the subject parcel, it is currently vacant and zoned RS8 medium density single family residence district. Surrounding land use and zoning, to the north there is commercial CN2, to the east and south residential RS8, and to the west residential RM12. The Connecticut County Comprehensive Plan shows future character area as a traditional neighborhood high intensity. The proposed rezoning will be compatible with surrounding zoning and land uses. If the request to rezone is approved and all conditions pertaining to cargo containers are complied with, the code violation that is currently active will be in compliance. For details on code enforcement case, the applicant may reach out to and coordinate with the City Code Enforcement Division. Return reports from staff state no objection and recommend approval. The Code Enforcement Division had a comment that there is an active zoning case regarding storage container placed upon the parcel. The applicant has also provided a few pictures on what the parcel will look like in the future after the temporary container has been removed and the storage materials have been stored properly. The request was approved unanimously at the planning board meeting and there were no objections from the surrounding property owners. The staff recommends approving the request. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this matter?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure.
Could you say
Need
your name?
and a we need your name for the record.
Nettie Carter Smith, Winnette Carter Smith. I am actually one of 4 owners of the Core 4 Soul Kitchen with my husband and then our good friends, Sana and Vernon Bass. But we built this patio last year. Obviously, we were intentional to try to put something nice on the southwest side. You guys, we were here last year. We also purchased the parcel behind us and did not realize that the parcel that we put the storage unit on was not commercial. We probably should have just gotten all 3 of them done at the same time, but we didn't know that. We need that storage unit because that's what we put all of our equipment in. So we just want to make sure that it stays nice and we can continue to provide this nice space with great food out of the food truck for our community. So, thank you.
Now that you spoke, I do have a question. Are you going to build something more of a permanent storage in the future? Or just is the idea just to continue to use the temporary looking storage?
We actually are looking at trying to build something more permanent. We need, we continue to grow, we continue to collect items. And so, yes.
That could be the future intention?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else from the commission?
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn the hearing.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Before we begin the commission meeting, I think it's appropriate for us to have a few moments of silence in memory of the young people who died since the last time we met. And to me, that was a really sad event. And we need to recognize that. So let's have a few moments of silence. Thank you. So I'm called to order the commission's meeting. The roll call from the hearing will cover this also. Please rise for the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance. Our God, we're grateful for the opportunity to gather and make decisions for this community. Help us to do it well. Make forward step for all of our citizens. In your name we pray.
One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Somebody moved on the flag.
Good. Somebody want to move to approve the minutes of the last?
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
I'm sorry about that.
The clerk will proceed with first readings. Title only.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 378.2 acres located along East National Road, Springfield, Ohio, to PD Plan Development District. Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 0.072 acre at 120 East Southern Avenue, Springfield, Ohio, from RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District to CN2 Neighborhood Commercial District. Authorizing a contribution to the Clark County Combined Health District in the amount of $137,986.80 to support the hiring of a contract employee to carry out responsibilities of the Emergency Housing Oversight Task Force for the period of March 1, 2022 through March 1, 2026. Authorizing the rental of employee uniforms from Centos Corporation Number 2 for an amount not to exceed $200,000 through the Ohio Department of Administrative Services pursuant to Ohio's Cooperative Purchasing Act in accordance with the provisions of Section 125.04 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Estrop.
Thank you. I have a question relative to item 181-22. I certainly applaud the Clark County Combined Health District for taking this on. And I was wondering, and I don't know whether to address it to you, Bryan, or to someone else, but will that incorporate looking at the issue of homelessness, particularly where we have two camps? As I recall, we have a homeless camp on East Main right now and also a homeless camp on West Main. And I know there have been some issues with those. I think at least we ought to be looking at them and investigating what we might do.
Yes, Commissioners, I'd be glad to answer that. So if you recall back in the fall, the city and the county both approved a resolution of support to establish a homelessness task force for our community. And as a part of that, the Clark County Combined Health District stepped up as the lead agency And they have been active over the last several months in really developing and building the data sets necessary to help us analyze and make decisions and develop the strategy ongoing. And so this support is a combined support again from Clark County as well as the city of Springfield, a 50-50 partnership in terms of the financial contributions on working towards, helping and assisting in the homelessness issue that we saw that really was kind of an unforeseen consequence of COVID, the spike that all communities saw across the country. One of those such spikes has been tent encampments. Springfield's not alone in that. I've been to several cities where there are very large tent encampments, and that's how they've addressed. So part of the task force in partnership with all of the agencies that are collaborating and coordinating around that, including us in our community development department, is working on developing strategies around emergency shelter and affordable housing options to help address this issue, both short-term and long-term.
Very good, thank you.
Anything else? Clerk, proceed with second reading.
Vacating the first alley east of Clifton Avenue from East Lansdowne Avenue to East Auburn Avenue, and the first alley north of East Lansdowne Avenue from Clifton Avenue to Ontario Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Creating the Sycamore Ridge Tax Increment Financing Incentive District, declaring improvements to the parcels within each incentive district to be a public purpose and exempt from real property taxation, requiring the owners of those parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of those service payments, specifying the public infrastructure improvements that benefit and serve parcels in the incentive district, and providing for compensation payment.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Name and address for the record, please.
Horton Hobbs, 20 South Limestone Street, Suite 100, Vice President of Greater Springfield Partnership. Just simply want to say thank you to the commission. I know you haven't taken formal action yet, but thank you to staff and commission for continuing to do things to enable development to occur in this community. These are not easy decisions to make, but you're doing it thoughtfully, you're doing it with data, and you're doing it in the spirit of collaboration, cooperation, and good, smart development for our community. So I want to applaud you on behalf of our organization for the work that you're doing and the partnership that we have with your staff and the leadership that they've taken in many difficult development conversations over the past year or so, including around TIF. So thank you very much for your continued support.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Hobbs.
Clerk will call.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a listing and marketing commission agreement with Brindley Mountain Fire Apparatus for the disposal of a 2001 Emergency One fire truck as property not needed for municipal purposes pursuant to Section 149.03B of the codified ordinances of the city of Springfield, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, comments from the commission?
Isn't this truck old enough to be in the historical museum or? Close. It's close, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving the acceptance of a donation from Select Tech Services Corporation, doing business as Select Tech, of a Hobart Ground Power Unit, models 6P28 GI with an approximate value of $6,638.02.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Seconded. Questions, comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefor, and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Amending plan development for 10.381 acres at 1221 East Home Road, Springfield, Ohio, from Village Green Plan Development District 2013 to Village Green Plan Development District 2022, and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with L.J. DeWeese Company Incorporated for the 2022 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program, Section 1A, for an amount not to exceed $777,080, and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? The audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with L.J. DeWeese Company Incorporated for the 2022 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program, Section 1B, for an amount not to exceed $574,612, and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? The audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into the First Amendment to the Crime Laboratory Use Agreement by and among the Ohio Attorney General's Office, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, the Board of Clark County Commissioners, and the City of Springfield for the purpose of continuing operation of a functional staff crime lab for law enforcement uses, confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from July 1, 2021 to the passage of this ordinance, and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? The audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into Amendment 3 with JCI Jones Chemicals Incorporated for the purchase of liquid chlorine for the use by the city's water treatment plant, to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $10,000 for a total amount not to exceed $98,150, and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and the Shelley Company for the 2022 PI paving, to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $274,929.50 for a total amount not to exceed $3,099,222.65, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Moonlight Municipal Contracting, LLC, for the 2021 water line replacements project, to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $48,271.21 for a total amount not to exceed $925,873.92, and to extend the project completion date to May 13, 2022, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the Safety Services Center renovation project from McDaniels Construction Corporation for an amount not to exceed $516,590.52, through Sourcewell pursuant to the Sourcewell Contract Purchasing Cooperative Program in accordance with the provisions of Section 9.48 of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Questions, comments from the commission? From the audience? Call the roll.
Ms. Phillips? Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the fiscal officer to create a super blanket purchase order as permitted by the Ohio Revised Code 5705.4103 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
The next 5 items have been added to the agenda. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a grant agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation Aviation Division to accept funding in an amount up to $275,182 for the replacement of precision approach path indicator lights on runway 624 at the Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport. Authorizing an expenditure of up to $371,850 to be used as local matching funds. Authorizing the city manager, law director, airport manager, and the director of finance to do all things necessary for the execution of the grant agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? The audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Reappointing Bernadette M. De Guzman, M.D., M.P.H. to the Board of Health of the Clark County Combined Health District.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? The audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Consenting to the appointment of Chris Wallace to the City Planning Board and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Consenting to the appointment of Zachary Harvey to the Board of Building Appeals and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
And a motion appointing Cecily Morrow to the Community Beautification Committee with no term expiration.
Moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. That concludes our agenda. Are there other items that come before us from commissioners? Mr. Estrop?
Thank you, Mayor. 2 items. One, I'm pleased to publicly announce that the EPA, U.S. EPA, and the United States Justice Department have both now formally signed off on the consent decree relative to Tremont City barrel field. This is a huge step forward, and I'm pleased to tell you that, in fact, they did it much faster than we had anticipated. So the decree right now has been signed by all the parties involved and has been filed with the U.S. court here in Ohio. And it is in the midst of now a 30-day comment period where members of the public, anyone, may make any comments relative to the merits or demerits of the consent decree. After this public comment period, then in fact, if the judge so decides, he will make it an order of the court, and we will finally begin planning and ultimately executing a plan to deal with the Tremont City barrel field that is continues to be a threat to the very water supply of this city, this county, and this area. So I think we've made some real progress, and to all the people who have been involved in that, particularly the people for safe water, as well as the city staff and many, many others. I want to say thank you. We finally are getting it moving in the right direction, and I'm pleased with that.
After years and years and years of effort, it's really good to see what looked like the final turn of the effort.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I want to comment on one other thing. And Warren, I appreciate you taking time at the beginning of the meeting for a moment of silence. I just don't think I can continue to be silent on this topic. As most of you know, I served as superintendent of schools in 3 school districts here in Ohio. And it's every superintendent's nightmare. It just constantly hangs over your head that today might be the day in one of your schools where a school shooter appears and takes the lives of children and staff. Here in Ohio, the General Assembly has said, we need more guns. And we don't need to train people. We don't need background checks. We need nothing. Just sell them like you sell a pair of socks. Thank God we don't apply the same standard to automobiles. I would like to personally take a look, Jill, at what we as a city might do. I don't know if there's anything we can do. But at least I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror in the morning and say, I tried. I'm tired of hearing all the lame excuses that are coming from people who continue to advocate that there are no limits to the first 10 amendments, and that's baloney, because we know the freedom of speech has been limited a long time. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's a long-standing principle. And unfettered rights in the second, that's not true. You can't own a howitzer or a 50 caliber machine gun, so we have limited the right to arms and need to. But I think I at least want to be able to say, and I hope some of my colleagues will join with me, that we looked to see if Springfield could lead the way and make a difference, so that no longer will we have to live with guns everywhere, including our schools. Thank you very much.
I will support everything you're saying. To me, this is a terrible, terrible time for this country to have people able to get guns and then to kill, whether they be older people, which is also true, or kids in schools. People don't need to have guns of those caliber, etc. Now, we probably can't, I don't know that we can solve that problem locally, but we can certainly support efforts to do something to keep this from continuing. Other countries in the world don't let this happen. This is a disgrace, the United States. I agree with David very much.
Thank you.
Anything else from Commissioner? Anyone in the audience want to speak to us? There a
Move we
motion to-
adjourn.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.